Well, I had some good feedback, and some old friends reached out. There's a world I lived in pre-COVID and then post-COVID. I'm going to try to explain that, but I wanted to post another one just because I uh, got some messages from some old friends pre-COVID. Um, COVID kind of changed my life quite a bit, and uh, made me I became a dad during COVID. My daughter was born in May of 2021, and she was the light of my life. But a lot of things changed when the pandemic hit back in 2020, March of 2020. I think I remember the exact date, March 13th. My wife and I were not married yet. We were dating, and we were out on a date, and it came down, and that's when we knew the world was going to shut down, but we didn't know what it was going to entail. We knew we were getting married. We knew that was going to be in October, but we didn't know that the world was going to change like it did, and we didn't know we were going to bring our baby girl into the pandemic era. And if you hear her, she's not feeling the best today, so that's why the lights are dim down here. I'm kind of trying to take care of her a little bit. I've also decided that I'm not gonna. When I first started this a year ago and tried to play around, I just put too much time into it. Spent too much energy thinking how to do it perfectly and to get the editing equipment and microphones and all this stuff, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna do these fun little, or fun to me anyway, fun little videos and recordings and sharing them. Um, and yeah, so today was another good day at work. Busy as all get out. Uh, Everything's always changing when it comes to social work, but I helped somebody who was wrongfully charged with a crime. I'm not even sure it calls it a crime really, but he was wrongfully charged, and I had to learn the legal system in Dallas County, Iowa, and I did a little bit. I pulled some favors, and we finally got the charges dropped, and that happened today. So my client was very happy, and in my work as a social worker, we don't hear thank you a lot unless something big happens, and I didn't expect this one to come off as big as it did, but it clearly did. To hear this big tough guy say thank you, you were a godsend, somebody who makes sure he squeezes my hand as hard as he can when he shakes my hand when he first met me, and still to this day. But he kind of became a big softy when the charges were dropped, so that's a big win. I live for those days. Love my job, love what I do. It's very rewarding, and that's kind of what I was doing. That when I started to get messages about last night's post, and so that's why I decided to do another one. Um, about oh gosh, I can't remember. It was 2019. It's 2009 or 2020 when I switched careers. I was in insurance. I worked at Nationwide a long time, so a lot of people from Nation, or not a lot. I shared this out just to see who would be interested to watch. So I kind of did an email blast share, and a couple of really good friends that I lost touch with just because life changes, and again, post pandemic, reached out and said hello, and kind of enjoyed the video. More so, they're just saying they thought they did, just saying hi and trying to reconnect, and which is great. And of course, I responded in kind. I love those guys. So, um, but that's kind of why I wanted to post something else again tonight. Um, Before the pandemic, I worked in insurance. I was actually working at Progressive Insurance as a claim adjuster when the pandemic hit. And before that, I did not have my bachelor's degree. So I tried to, the pandemic made me want to change what I was doing. I didn't want to work in insurance anymore, and I've been doing that for 18 years in some form or fashion. And so I decided to go back and get my bachelor's. I had spent, I almost graduated from Ole Miss back in 2003. I left because my grandmother on my dad's side passed away, and I wanted to come home. I'd been down there 6 years, and I just wanted to come home. And so I came home and I started working for a company that's no longer here, an insurance-esque company, financial insurance. And they told me the upper, Thinking back now, they may not have been as high in leadership as I thought, but they said, yeah, you don't need your bachelor's degree to move on or become leadership. So I just kept working. And then the pandemic hit, and I thought I should do something else. And I really, the first thought was, how do I help people that are homeless? And back then, I couldn't figure out my path to that. I thought of volunteering, but I didn't really know anything about that industry or that workforce and how they help those people. And so I went back and got my bachelor's degree at Upper Iowa. It took me a little less than a year to get my bachelor's in psychology. During that, I took a class in death and dying. It was called Death and Dying. And all of a sudden, I started to realize there was some deficiencies. Well, a lot of deficiencies in nursing homes in the country. Joined the Pioneer network and kept going to some of those meetings, and I found out that there's just this big movement to try and improve that. So my big plan then was like, oh, I got to open a nursing home. That's what I'm going to do. And I reached out and did some research and talked to some schools, and they said I needed my master's degree in healthcare administration. So that's where I went online, and I got my master's in healthcare administration back in 2024, May of 2024. I graduated. However, during that time, I switched career fields quickly to the human services side. I was a supervisor for a company for 2 group homes that were catering to clients of children with disabilities, severe disabilities. And so I really enjoyed that. But I thought I wanted to be in a nursing home. I thought I wanted to open a nursing home. So I resigned there. It was the summer of 2021, I believe. And I went to work for a nursing home, and they hired me as a kind of a human resources-esque. That wasn't the actual title. I think they called me a recruitment liaison. Regardless, it was a horrible experience. And of course, I'm not going to say that. I don't even think they're around anymore, actually. But it was a horrible experience. It just really, I ended up not liking it and left. And I think it was on my birthday, actually, in 2022. Yeah, September of 2022, I left because it was horrible work environment. And then I became, or actually I was unemployed for a month, I think, 2 months. November of 2023, I got hired on at a home as an administrator for people with traumatic brain injuries and rehabilitating them in the group home setting, so in the community, which was a wonderful experience. But in January or February of 2024, I needed to do my practicum, an internship, and I just didn't have. They couldn't. I was the administrator for the home, so they couldn't give me a leave of absence. So I had to weigh out: do I want to finish my degree, which I spent money and years on, or do I want to stay with this job? My wife and I talked about it, and we went with the degree. I finished that in May of 2024, but I resigned from that organization in February 2024. I started with the organization that I'm working for now in June of 2024, and I've been there ever since. And that's where I've been led to helping people with substance abuse problems, homelessness, anybody with disabilities, and that's changed a lot too. I was part of the integrated health home program that ended in September of 2025, and then I became a disability service navigator, which kind of took that place a little bit. It'd be hard to explain in detail exactly how that worked, but anyway, I still help people get off the streets or get the support they need because they're not able to do things themselves. At my last company, we called it compensatory strategies, making up for deficiencies that you have no control over, and finding a way around that so you can live your best life, be as independent as possible. Anyway, whole point of that was my daughter was born in May of 2021. I was in the middle of getting my master's degree and redefining my career. So I got married in October of 2020, and my daughter came around in May of 2021. My stepson was already part of this too. So my wife and my stepson were a big part of me getting my education and making this career change. So I credit them. Actually, I tell them I share my degrees with them because they were a part of that, a big part of it. But my daughter suffered a little bit, I guess, or at least in my eyes, she did. She's happy and healthy, other than having a little spring cold right now. But her first couple of years, I was on call all the time. I'd come home and go back to school and do my schoolwork online. And the only time I'd really spend quality time with her was like in the mornings or like the weekends, reading my graduate level economics or whatever it was, reading that to her as if it was a storybook. And that became just how we lived. And once I got the job I have now, I was able to spend more time with my daughter, my son, my wife, and that's been wonderful. I can't go anywhere else. I like what I do. I love where we live our lives here. And again, that's just the old dad that doesn't know squat type of stuff, and that's what I was going to try and share today. But yeah, it's always a challenge. Work is difficult. Not sure I want to be in an administrative position again. That on-call stuff is really difficult, and especially on my family and how much I really enjoy being with them. My son, my stepson, is in sports and stuff, and he's got his buddies, and it's a good life. His friends are over here quite a bit actually, and then my daughter's friends come over every now and again, and so we just have a nice little quiet life where I can make boundaries between work and life, which that wouldn't be a thing when I was an administrator. But that and going to school impacted all that, and it was a struggle for all of us. Yeah, I can't tell you the ups and downs. It was well worth it. I loved going to graduate school. I loved getting my master's degree. If I had the time and money, I would pursue a doctorate or another master's because it was very rewarding, but not as rewarding as my job now. And so when my daughter asks what I do for a living, I just say I help people. And sometimes she thinks that's a doctor, sometimes she thinks that's a nurse, sometimes she thinks it's a vet. So she doesn't quite understand that yet, and she's going to turn 5 here soon. But she's gathering it, that when my wife and I talk about, and I don't talk about work at home very often, but when I celebrate the wins with them, I don't tell them anything, not a lot of stuff actually, but when I get somebody off the streets and we find an apartment or a home for them of some sort, that's a big win. I mean, and like today, somebody saying thank you the way you did, that's a huge win. And I want to share that with my family, my coworkers, my bosses, and stuff like that. This is a hard field to work in. You're in people's homes, strangers basically, that are really reaching out and depending on you, me, my coworkers, to be the lifeline. And we're not the direct support people. We are the gateway to those direct support people, and happily so. But not back in September when the IHH program ended, I had a couple clients and their providers say something to me that was very impactful. Said that you are making differences in people's lives on a level that nobody can understand, and I can't believe they're ending this program. And that kind of, that hit home. That got me in the feels, I guess is what they say. But then I had to turn around and do a different job, and it's similar, and I'm still helping people change their lives. It's a little more fast-paced and not as detailed or organized yet, but I can see the path. I can see where it's going, so I'm all on board. I know it's not for everybody, but I guess this conversation was a little more work heavy. It was supposed to be directed towards how older dad doesn't know squat about raising kids, and how I spent the first 2 years of my daughter's life studying and changing careers to get to where I'm at today. And the happy ending of this story or this video is that my daughter is actually now up playing instead of being sick. um, and we are living our best lives. The kids are happy, they're doing well, which I just thank God every day for the blessings He's given us and how much we enjoy each other and life in general. And yeah, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. Um, and I wouldn't be able to feel as rewarded as I do now. Hmm. Kind of just free thought all the way through this. Started with one plan, and like I said, I'm not editing this, I'm not writing anything down, I'm just kind of going with it. And so it went that way. I like what I do, love my work, and really love my education, love my family. So until the next time, don't know when it'll be. Hope you all have a good night.